Hey everybody, we are back after a week off. Real quick, we had the Super Bowl this past weekend, so that means there are plenty of trailers to talk about, including the first trailer for The Flash. We're going to talk about that all and more on Flicker Effect. 431.
Oh, you were so close, David. You almost got it in there. You just,
I told you
you're
guys
just a little rusty.
right before we started that I hadn't practiced that opening. It's probably my worst one yet. It's not good.
And I was wondering what you meant by practicing your opening, because I was like, don't you always know what to say? So
I always
like,
know what to say
what are you
because ahead of
practicing?
time.
But
about
I guess
timing.
you were trying the timing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Got
it's
it.
about the timing. It's about I'm not good at winging that kind of thing, but there it is.
It's all good.
That's it.
Yeah,
Got
like
the
you
point
said,
across, right?
this you did. We're talking about some trailers that we saw during the big game on last Sunday, which was an awesome game actually. So
I watched most of it
I
on a
don't know if
plane.
anyone you were
Yeah, we watched
you
the
were on a
first
plane.
half.
Yeah, the first half we had to watch most of the halftime show. We missed visually watching the third quarter, but we got to listen to some of the third quarter,
In the
and then
car,
we got
yeah.
to watch most of the fourth. I would say like the last half of the
Well,
fourth
okay.
quarter. We
Yeah,
got to watch at home. So how
Yeah,
it goes.
I mean, I guess that's where it all kind of came down to, is within that fourth quarter anyway. So
Right.
you got to see the big, I guess, conclusion of the whole game. So yeah, as you mentioned, that there were trailers that we got during that time. So where do you want to start with that? Like, is there any particular trailer you want to kick off talking about?
You know,
There's one I'm thinking of, but
well, it's funny. Like now, I'm realizing, like as we're going into this conversation, that there's probably a trailer you're going to want to bring up that I actually have not watched the full trailer of, but I've seen I think bits and pieces of it, and that's the final Fast and Furious film. Was that Fast X?
that's the one I was going to bring up.
Like, I have not watched the whole show. Oh no!
Look, see,
You got Bobby all riled up now, knocking stuff
well,
off his
that's
shelf.
just where it's gonna stay. So
All
for
right.
all the people watching on YouTube, you're just gonna see that I'm missing one of my collector figures back there, my Transformers. Yeah, that was the one I was gonna bring up because I was curious to hear what you thought about it based on obviously we talked about this before. You had not watched the last movie. Watched the one before that, I think. But the general
I
consensus.
don't think I've
from-
seen the last two.
Oh, you haven't seen the last
I
two?
don't think you've seen the last two either.
I
Well-
don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't
The
think so.
general consensus is that the last movie jumped the shark, so to speak, and people weren't as thrilled with it. The trailer that just came out for Fast 10, it seems as though people are back on board, at least in the sense from what they saw in the trailer. They feel like it looks like it's going to be still over the top, but in a way that it's manageable as opposed to just outright dumb and stupid. So I think we'll see once the final product is here. But it's still interesting just because Lynn was on the project, and then they had the big thing between him and Vin Diesel, walked off, and so I think it's Louis Leterrier who's directing it, and it'll be interesting to see how it turned out. Like if it's still pretty much the same exact movie, or did he have to do anything to change it? My thought is that it's probably the same movie, and there was no friction in regards to the movie itself or what was on the script or page. It was more of the issues that Vin and James Lynn were having behind the scenes.
By the way, as you've been talking and I have been listening to, I'm watching the trailer right now with no sound
Oh, okay.
here in front of me. So this, I had definitely
Yeah.
there's a lot of this
Well-
trailer I have not seen. I'm realizing.
I think the whole like you may have taken everything, but you didn't take my car. As he drives off the Hoover Dam with it. So you mean to tell me like that's not jumping the
Not for this franchise.
Not
That
for
feels
this
more.
franchise. Yeah,
That
not for
feels
this
more
franchise.
realistic.
If you would have saw, the last one had them going into space, upper atmosphere
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
but still,
Let's be technical. Upper atmosphere, but
yeah, it's still, it's that's to I
it's a
think for anyone
large
that's
ball thing
been
rolling through
watching this
Yeah,
the
there's a
series.
street now.
large balmy ball
So did
thing.
you watch this trailer?
I saw that trailer somehow.
Wow.
I think I saw it probably like on my phone laying in bed or something at some point.
Yeah, Michelle,
Yeah.
it's you don't have the proper context because you've not seen any of these movies, so
Yeah,
you
this is
don't
true.
know the areas in which they go and stretch believability, and then how far the last one did compared to the other ones,
Right.
and how this one still sort of fits back into that area of believability that these movies do. It's not believable, but it's what they
No.
do and make it at least almost seem plausible, very slightly.
But yeah,
But
it's all about family still. Because man, I heard the
oh
line
yeah,
Momoa says, "You stole all of my family, and now I'm gonna
right.
take yours." Or I don't really know how the whole
It's a
line
long
went,
trailer,
but
by
it
the
was
way.
pretty long.
Yeah,
It
it
was
is
a
a long
long
trailer.
trailer.
It's a
Three
long trailer.
minute, 44-second trailer. At least
One.
that's the runtime on YouTube. I don't know if there's like a
Yeah.
still screen on the end that's like, a minute long here, but it's still
No,
going.
no, it's a long trailer, and that's what's so funny about it too. Because when I watched the trailer, and everybody had that same consensus, this is a long trailer. I get the feeling that as long as that trailer is, we still haven't even scratched the surface of all
Surface
the
of what we're
different
gonna
things
see.
that they'll,
Probably
they'll
not.
do in the actual movie. So it was almost like, okay, we'll give you a little bit of a longer trailer because you haven't seen anything yet. So I don't know. I liked it. I thought that honestly, I'm one of the few people that did like the last movie, and ironically enough, the people who didn't like this last movie liked eight, and I didn't like eight. So it was very weird. It's sort of
Oh,
reminiscent to me
interesting.
of how I thought about Thor, where most
Mm.
people love Ragnarok and I don't, and then most people despise Love and Thunder, and I kind of like it. I mean, I don't love it, but I kind of like it. So it's very odd that I've sort of switched on some of these things, but I don't know. I think that as far as this franchise goes, it, they continually find ways in which to add big name actors to it that make you want to go see it just because there's some other big name actors in it. And Vin Diesel has said that he would love to have Robert Downey Jr. in the series, and I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know if that would be possible, but I don't also think that it's out of the realm of possibility either. So it's very strange because people seem to love to go sort of play in that world just because I guess it's so over the top. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if they can do the Robert Downey Jr. thing though. Yeah,
Yeah, seems like a little bit of a stretch to me.
yeah. Well,
When is this movie coming out?
I believe in June. June. Let me
Maybe I'll
see.
revisit the
Actually,
ones I haven't watched.
uh,
Maybe we'll
May
do a little
19th. May
marathon.
19th.
I own a decent amount of these movies on Blu-ray.
I know. I've always thought that it would be a great YouTube series of just you doing a watch with Michelle
I think
and
you brought
having
that up once.
there-
Yeah.
yeah. I've always thought that would be good. I'm sure we'll start seeing a lot of reactor videos, people who do reaction videos around the time that Fast and Furious comes out, who haven't seen it doing it.
That's not
So
a bad idea. Like we'll do a
yeah,
marathon of the
it
entire
is.
franchise.
Man, I mean,
And
I was say when that first one came out, I watched that one a lot. I felt like that one was on like in the background at house parties. Like
Mm,
it was just on all the time. Like it was on at like frat guys'
yeah.
houses, or it was on like before a football game that they were waiting to watch. They put that on. Like it was on freaking everywhere. I felt like, and I watched a lot of that one. And then I've seen the second one, and I've seen Tokyo Drift. I've not seen any others.
And I think Bobby and I have said repeatedly, like you stopped at the wrong point. You're like it's
Yeah,
when if you'd watched like even four and especially five,
yeah,
that's when it's like,
right, right.
okay, there's a franchise here. Now, is it crazy
Yeah,
that you have to get to three or four or four to
I know,
five?
man.
I'm fully admitting that that's true, but with that being said, the franchise does reinvent itself in a good way right around that point. That's like peak Fast and Furious right there. You know,
Yeah.
six is fine. Six is good too, I guess. And then soon after that is when it's like, okay, now we're just what can we do? Craziness. Hence,
Right.
as Bobby's explained, they go to space in the
Yeah.
last one, which yeah, that's
Mm.
surprised time travel hasn't played a part, or maybe I missed something.
Right.
If the series goes on long enough,
Right.
Give it
yeah,
time.
Give it
you never
time.
know. Um, Deadline put out an article a little bit earlier today, so I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but the article is in regards to the top trailers that happened during the Super Bowl, or at least post Super Bowl, within a 24-hour period. And it's actually goes across social media. So it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And I guess the views were collected by Relish Mix, which I haven't heard of before, but they collected all the views across all these different social media applications. And guess what the number one trailer was for the post Super Bowl within a 24-hour period?
Which one was number one?
Yeah.
There's what I would think would be number one, and then there's are you setting me up for it wasn't actually that one.
Right.
Should I give you some choices? Well, that's make it a
I
little bit
mean,
easier to narrow down the pool.
maybe you should because maybe there's some trailers I'm also forgetting and that I
Okay.
didn't see because I didn't see the whole Super Bowl and maybe I didn't even realize certain
Well, and
trailers.
even some of the things that were out during the Super Bowl were kind of like teaser trailers for the full
Right.
trailer release
Yeah.
later. So
Most of
then
the
it's
times
Yeah.
that was
like,
the case.
Yeah. So here's the ones that they recorded, but I'll give you the ones that are like most likely going to be in that category.
Okay.
Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, Transformers: Rise of the Beast, Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, Fast 10, The Flash, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and Creed 3.
Hmm. What do you think, Michelle?
it was probably Fast X. I would think it would be the Flash, but it was probably
I
Fast
would
and Furious.
think it would be the Flash, but then part of me is like, it was like, especially again because you're bringing this up, it has me questioning, like, is it like the Transformer trailer, which would
Oh
No.
blow my
Lord,
mind.
that would blow my mind.
Because otherwise, before you had listed off anything, Bobby, I would have gone like, is it Guardians or is it the Flash? Like those are the two I would have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
the Guardians TV spot was the first one we saw. I think it
I
was the
think it was the
first one in the
first one.
broadcast.
Yeah, the teaser
Which
one
even
for
gives
it.
it a little more time. Like, I mean, I guess this, yeah, I don't know. I'll still go with the Flash.
All right. Michelle,
I say Fast and Furious.
fast. All right. Well, both of you were wrong.
I had a
It
feeling.
was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That came in at a whopping 134 million views post Super Bowl. Yeah. And then number two was The Flash with 97.4 million views. Fast 10 spot, 94.1 million. Ant-Man and the Wasp, 87.9. And then we get to Transformers, 43.3, and Indiana Jones at 34.2. So, yeah, looks like a lot of people are really, really, really looking forward to this volume three for Guardians of the Galaxy, which is interesting because I would not have guessed that that would have been the one that everyone had been viewing multiple times, only because we've already had some trailers. So I would have thought maybe The Flash as well. If I had just had to cold guess it, I would have thought that. But while we're on the subject, did you watch that trailer, David,
Guardians of the
Michelle? Did you
Galaxy
guys
Volume
get a
3?
chance? Yeah.
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 I have a feeling I'm gonna
So
cry a lot in that movie.
I think a lot of people
yeah,
are gonna.
I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna wind up
yeah,
crying a lot in that movie.
yeah. It's weird because of the tone of the trailer. It made
Yeah.
me it made me less want to see it in a weird way. I don't
Really?
know why. No, not because it looks bad, but
Hmm.
because there seems to be such a finality to it
Yeah.
in the way that the tone of it. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of dreading seeing this in a way. I don't know if I'm ready for that. And it's soon too because it comes out May 5th. So it's like right around
Especially
the corner, really.
it's one of those last remaining pieces of the Infinity Saga Marvel
Mm-hmm.
MCU
Mm,
stuff that is now going to go away, and then what we're gonna have left is Thor. Like,
yeah.
you know, I guess Ant-Man's still around, but
Yeah, true, but
yeah,
he's what more I mean, phase two. I mean, he was definitely Infinity Saga stuff for sure. But
right.
like,
Right.
as
In
far
Civil
as like,
War, he was, yeah,
He's
yeah,
definitely gonna be in this Kang dynasty. Is gonna be a thing.
yeah.
Um.
But I thought the
Yeah.
trailer overall looked good, and it definitely gives you those same vibes and feelings of the other two movies, especially like the humor and stuff, and where you get with Nebula and Star Lord
Yeah.
when what was it? Gamora's like, you two look like you're a better pair, and he's like, well, you do have those nice eyes. And she's like, Thanos surgically removed them and put these in or whatever. And
right,
it's like, well, they're a nice darker shade of black or something. Yeah, I
yeah.
thought that was pretty funny. So, yeah, it definitely seems to retain that sense of humor, but you can absolutely feel like there's some not good stuff that's going to happen in it for sure.
Yeah, I thought the trailer was good.
Yeah.
I actually did mean to rewatch the trailer again, especially before we were going to talk about it on here, and I haven't had a chance. But
Mm,
so really, I've only seen it all the way through that one time.
okay.
But yeah, I know I'm looking forward to the movie. I forget, did we talk about on here how I recently rewatched Volume Two?
No, I was actually just about to bring that
No.
up.
Well, it was one of those weekend put it on mainly for the kids,
Yeah.
and
Mm,
I ended up basically rewatching the whole thing. And I'll admit, I'm going to admit something, but hear me out. Like, I think in the context of now I just know what I'm getting into, I rewatch that movie and I feel like I do enjoy it a little more when I rewatch it
mm,
now. With that said, as much as I found that overall I enjoyed the movie more than I used to, still, without fail, the stuff I do not like in that movie, and I do not like
mm,
these scenes, are the scenes with Drax and Mantis.
Yeah.
Like, the humor thing that James Gunn was going for there with Drax and especially his relationship with her, like almost every it was like eye rolling, like just please stop talking. I don't want like, it's just not
mm.
funny. Like I don't know.
Right.
Like, but that stuff bugged me. But everything else, I was like actually okay. It's getting better. I mean nothing is any like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I do find I enjoy the movie a little more.
No, I feel like, so we put it on for the kids because we were just kind of hanging out for your like birthday celebration day, kind of. We put it on that day and, the kids were kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
And we wound up
Mm.
basically just rewatching it with them. And I think both of us actually wound up enjoying it a little bit more than I think we have. But yeah, no, I agree. I still bump a lot on the Drax humor. It's just,
And that's still what I worry about
yeah.
in this volume 3 film is
Oh, it's going to be full of it still, I think.
yeah.
But
Well,
overall,
I
I
mean,
think the trailer looks good. Like I said, I feel like I'm gonna cry a lot
Yeah.
in this movie. I think there's gonna be a lot of tears, but I don't know. I think it's gonna be good. It looks like it's gonna be good.
so going back to the Drax and Mantis thing, in how do you feel about them when they were in the Christmas special?
Great. Overall,
And yeah, the
Okay.
Christmas
very good.
special was good.
I like the Christmas special. I don't think we really talked about it on the show, but
No, I don't think so.
yeah, no, I really liked the Christmas special. I really liked them in it. It was way better.
It was way
All
better.
right. So
They felt
maybe the
more. They
movie
felt
will
more
reflect more of
relaxed.
that than
Hopefully,
the other.
I I I I hope so. There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
still a couple
Yeah.
like I think see like quick things in the trailer that make me think that it will be annoying, but
Mm.
I don't know. Again, like I do feel like, after volume one or the first film, and then we went into volume two, there was like even more leaning into certain types of humor that was like, well, you like this in the first movie, we're really going to do it in the second movie. That was like, and it mostly was
Yeah.
involving Drax. That was just like, ugh. It's like,
Yeah.
not to be like, I'm not trying to be like, I want the Drax from the comics. Like,
Hmm.
for one, what business do I have saying that? Even though that it was one of the few Marvel comics I did start reading before we got that first movie. I mean, after that Hall H
Hmm.
announcement, I picked up Guardians of the Galaxy, and I have a decent amount of copies and started reading it. And it's not like I expect that Drax per se, but it went a little off the deep end in volume two. That's all.
Mm. Well, moving to the next trailer, I think I want to bring up is one that I don't know that I honestly got a chance to really see that well because I only had a chance to see it the one time.
Hmm.
And being at a Super Bowl party, you know how that goes. Sometimes not everyone's super
Right.
quiet during that time. So I saw it, but I didn't really see it. And that's
Hmm.
the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny trailer. So I can't really speak too much on that one. But did you guys get a chance to see that one and thoughts?
I saw it during the broadcast, and we should point out
Yeah.
this was truly just a TV spot.
It really
Like
was just
Yeah.
a TV spot. It wasn't actually a
there,
trailer. Trailer.
I mean, since we were watching the Super Bowl on the plane and didn't miss parts of it, like when we got home and the Super Bowl was over, I watched the Flash trailer at home, and then I watched the Guardians trailer, and then I looked. I was like, just to make sure, is there a longer version of Indiana Jones? No, it's not. So yeah, I saw it during the broadcast. I've watched it again since on a better TV. So yes, to answer your question in a long manner, yes, I've seen it.
What'd you think of it? The spot. I mean, since it
I mean, it's a
wasn't like
TV
super long,
spot.
or whatever.
It basically just seems like what we've already seen for the most part.
Right.
I don't feel like there was a lot of shots in this spot that was like a kind of a drastic change of look from what we've already seen for this movie. I mean, you do see another shot of him de-aged.
Hmm.
And it's actually, you see a little more movement. I think he speaks in that shot. But you know, I'm cautiously optimistic about this movie. It's I don't know if I've mentioned, by the way, and I think a lot. I mean, this isn't new. Tons of people are saying this. I mean, I do not like the title of this film.
It is a bad
It's a
title.
bad title.
Bad
Um,
title.
Doesn't
and
bother me
it,
honestly. I don't
I
know
don't know.
why. It's
And
just
I'm also one of those people. Like, I also
mm,
don't care. It's just a title. Like, a lot of people
yeah,
were doing that with Glass Onion. Like before
yeah,
we got that movie, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is so terrible," and I'm like, I don't know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm sure it'll make sense in the movie. What's the big deal? And I guess I kind of feel the same way here, but maybe I have more of an attachment to this franchise. So Dial of Destiny as a title, it's kind of like, really? Like, it doesn't work for me. But
I
anyway,
mean, it's funny because a lot of people super, super, super hate Edge of Tomorrow as the title of the
I
Emily
know
Blunt and
you're
Tom
right.
Cruise movie, and
Everyone wants it to be that kind of alternate
All You
title.
Need Is Kill or something like that. I
Live, die,
think it's something
repeat.
along those. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Well,
that's
that's what
basically
they
the
renamed it, but
tagline.
the Japanese version or the other
The
foreign version, I'd say,
book,
because I don't know if it was Japanese. Yeah,
uh, yeah, the
was
book is
All You
what
Need
you
Is
I think you
Kill
said.
It,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people wanted that, and I'm again on the other side of that with everyone. I kind of like the Edge of Tomorrow title because once you see the movie, that title actually makes sense. They're
I agree
Right.
with
literally
you.
on the edge of tomorrow. They just don't get there.
Right,
But I don't know. But everyone else has deep thoughts on that title. But
you're right.
like this
Yeah.
one, like you said, with Dial of Destiny, it's the same. People are not really feeling it. But
And
uh,
I will
the
say real
movie
quick
itself,
about Indiana Jones though, like I remember during the TV spot watching it on the crappy little, plain TV screen. um,
Mhm.
that shot of him de-age, and I think he says a line. I was a little like, oh, is this my first glimpse of de-age Harrison Ford? That doesn't look as good as I hope. But then I rewatched it at home on a bigger 4K screen, and actually, it looked pretty good. So I went back to
Okay.
hopefully the de-aging looks good. I
Okay.
recently saw, by the way, it was like either on TikTok or like Instagram stories or something. Somebody had like it was an interview that he did recently talking about the de aging and how they did it using all this like footage that from all the stuff he's done with
Yeah, I'd
Lucasfilm
heard
in the
about that
past.
too.
And it's like
Yeah.
this the bottom half is they had de-aged him for that interview. Whoever I don't know who did this,
Oh, I
and
didn't know about that.
I gotta find it because I was watching it going perfection, like
Wow.
this random TikTok video. Like, this is perfect. Like
Wow.
it blew my mind. I'm like, why can't we
Wow.
get this in Star Wars? Why can't we get this
Huh.
in so many other films? This random dude on the internet, I guess, did this and it looks perfect. Like, anyway,
That's
just
interesting.
it's just funny.
Michelle, what'd you think? Did it help move the needle for you at all? Or are you still just
I mean, for something that was as
ambivalent about
quick
it?
and short as it was, it didn't do anything for me. I'm still just
Heyo.
I am yeah, David's cautiously optimistic. I am like I don't even know. I don't know. I'm still just very I
Yeah.
I guess I hope for the best, but I am prepared to be disappointed and
You
sad.
know what, Michelle? I've got an idea for you. I've got a great idea for you. All right. So, for anyone listening or watching, Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny comes out June 30th. On June, I imagine you'll see it June 30th when it comes out, or that weekend
Yeah.
for sure. Whatever day you end up seeing it, the day before, watch Crystal Skull and then
Oh
go watch
God.
But it'll put you in
I
such a bad
guarantee
mood.
you'll be so much happier coming out of this movie
It's not the
than
worst idea.
yeah. It'll give
Oh.
you a little palate cleanser there to make you feel better going into this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
see?
you're
I
you're
mean,
I found the video,
you're
by the
hoping
way. I
for a
just
lot.
emailed it to you, Bobby. You have to watch it.
okay, all right.
You're hoping for a lot there to get me to rewatch that piece of shite.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, I will be curious to see at least how they will answer the mutt question once this movie comes out. But
Do we have to? Can we just
outside of
forget
that,
about him?
I maybe they did forget. Maybe they
Take
will
that
have
approach.
retconned that.
I feel like
And
I heard either in an article or I think it was an article I read somewhere that it's not being ignored. I think it is going to be touched upon in some way that makes sense. I don't know
mm,
where I read that, but I swear I read that from a reliable source somewhere.
okay, yeah. Well, again, it'll be out on June 30th, so prepare yourself, Michelle. um, the the star of the show, honestly, to me, was this next one, which was the Flash. Now, I say it was the star of the show only because it was on my most anticipated list of 2023. I think it was like number four or
Yeah.
something like that on my list. So I already had been looking forward to watching this movie, especially knowing this movie has been pushed back for so long and so many times. So we obviously knew certain aspects of it. We knew Michael Keaton was in it. We knew there was a Supergirl in it. We knew certain things. So the realization of it and seeing it in actual motion was something quite, I think, special to see again. And I don't feel like I was alone. It looks like, at least if you look at social media, most people, by an overwhelming majority, seem to be went from uh, carrying picket signs for DC to like saying maybe this is our savior kind of thing, and that they're very very hopeful for this movie. So I will definitely say that the movie, the trailer got me hyped for the movie. I really am anticipating it, and anxious to see what they do with the movie itself and how it ends to lead into the James Gunn Peter Safran DCU. So that in and of itself is another aspect of what makes me so curious about this movie. But the trailer alone really got me going for wanting to see this movie that happened before James Gunn and Peter Safran took over. So I actually want to know, Michelle, because you've been a pretty big skeptic lately, almost not quite in levels of Yasha, but pretty much up there. So, what did this trailer do for you when you saw it?
I mean, I don't know if I would say I was a skeptic. I think my overarching issue is that I think up until now, until James Gunn and what's his name, Safran,
Peter.
have Peter Safran have been announced as kind of the heads of the DC film industry. Like up to that point, prior to them coming in, I was just like, I was with Yasha. I don't think Warner Brothers knows what the heck to do with DC, and DC had no direction. So now I'm much more hopeful and positive about the whole situation. As far as the Flash goes, I think I hate that there's so much unfortunately wrapped up around the lead actor for this role in his personal life, and sometimes it is hard to separate somebody's personal life from a film that they've done. And I try to kind of just wash it away in a way, because I feel like this is a character and a storyline that is definitely overdue, and we've all liked what we've seen prior to this, and we've been waiting for this movie forever. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I think we saw a scene at one of the cons they brought, like a little scene for this, and it was such a teaser. It was so nice. And then it's like, Ezra is kind of, off the rails, and it's hard to kind of like separate those two sometimes. So I think my skepticism comes from like, do I feel comfortable promoting and spending my money on a film that is kind of encouraging an actor's bad behavior and the studio to allow it to happen? And so that's where it's like a conflict of conscience, more or less. But yeah, like you watch this trailer, and even though I think the poster looks kind of mixed on the poster that they released a few days prior, but overall, like the trailer, I thought was really good. It's quite good. It definitely makes it's the story that we've been wanting to see for a very long time for this character, and I think it's going to be really awesome to watch. I think my conscience is battling right now. That would be my like thing.
That's fair. I think a lot of people are feeling that way as well. I mean, sort of on a side tangent, real quick. The Hogwarts game just came out not too long ago, and
Yeah, that's a whole
there's
nother
been that.
topic.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate on that one as well because of J.K. Rowling's comments she's made against trans people, and so it was like, well, should I buy this game, or should I buy this game because I don't support her or what she's doing, but this is a world in which I want to live in this sense of like immerse myself into it and leave all that stuff behind. And there are other people that worked on the game and all the different things and other aspects that go into it as
Right.
well, that it just makes it very complicated. And I don't tend to fault anyone for any which way they end up going with it, because it is not such a cut and dry topic, I don't think. But
Right.
back to the Flash, David. What did you think of the trailer?
Overall, I thought it looked quite good. Um, yeah, I mean, I've said like I think it was on my list of most like kind of most anticipated films was it for
Hmm.
2023,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
just because I it's such an interesting situation. um, and I think for me it keeps pointing to the fact that this movie they've held it back, and the studio seems still hell bent on releasing it considering everything that's gone
Hmm.
on with Ezra Miller. I think is evidence of the weird situation they found themselves in of, oh my god, any other film probably we would have dumped this movie or reshot it or whatever, but oh my god, it's so good is what is the impression we're getting, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and from what we hear now, I'm not saying that has to be believed necessarily. I think we've heard that kind of tune before about like you'll hear stuff about like, oh, the initial reaction at a screening was great, got a standing ovation, and then the movie ends up being not that great. But there's
Right.
something about like the murmurs we've heard coming out of the studio and from James Gunn himself and other people involved about this movie, and again how they're handling it, considering at least at times evidence seemed to point toward you really should dump this movie or something, but they haven't. And I like, Ezra Miller and his personal life aside, I like them as the Flash. I've so far everything that they've done for the Flash, it's looked good. They've been great in it. But no, I thought the trailer looked pretty solid. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I've watched it a couple times, and
Hmm.
not even so much the nostalgia of Michael Keaton Batman, which I love. '89 Batman. Don't get me wrong. It is a pivotal moment in my childhood. That film. And I'm excited to see Michael Keaton as Batman again. But even that aside, I think they look good as the Flash. There's one shot in particular of like, the Flash watching his younger self coming out of like a house, I think, and him standing in front of
Yeah.
this house. And that particular shot, I'm like, oh my God, it so looks like the Flash. It's just so
Yeah.
good. So I'm excited for a good Flash film. So far I think it looks great. I'm dying to see it. As I've said before, I'm also dying to see how Blue Beetle and Aquaman fit in after this movie,
Mm.
and that whole situation is still weird to me, but I'm sure there's logic behind all of it. But no, I thought the trailer looks pretty excellent.
Yeah, it's interesting. Andy Muschietti has directed this one, and it still has a sort of a not a sheen, but there's definitely a sense of it still kind of like fitting into that Snyderverse,
Hmm.
the way it looks and certain shots and stuff, the cinematography to a certain degree.
Right.
Um, Honestly, it might be blasphemous to say this, probably is. Um, I when they showed Michael Keaton, I mean, I knew he was in it, and he was also going to be in the Batgirl movie that got canned and whatnot. But I got most excited seeing Ben Affleck in the movie than I did seeing Michael Keaton. Um, and I think that has to do with a lot of the fact that I, like Henry Cavill, don't feel that Ben got enough time in the. Even though you see him in a little bit of the Suicide Squad, and of course he was in Batman v Superman and Justice League, but I still don't think that he had. If we had gotten an actual Batman movie with Ben Affleck, the one that he wanted to direct and write, I think that I would have felt more like it comes full circle, but I don't think that that ever got fully completed. So getting to see him be in this movie, it made me happy just to be able to see him again, because I like him as this Batman or the Batman in that universe. So yeah, I did definitely get more excited seeing him pop up there and hoping he gets a decent amount of time in this movie as well, alongside Michael Keaton and Ezra Miller. So
I get
yeah,
that.
that's yeah. I think that one. What I say that comes out June 16th. So again,
See,
June will
I
be
was
a
gonna
big month.
say if there's something an
Mm.
opinion I have about that trailer that might be unpopular, that would be And this is kind of just pointing to the trailer as a trailer. Um, I love Danny Elfman's score for the Batman, but there's something about the use of it in this trailer when the Batman shows up
Yeah,
that
it
is
is kind
very,
of
it's
weird.
very fan servicey.
It
Like, oh,
is.
here's 89 Batman. We're going to use the 89 Batman score in this part of the trailer. Like, it just, there's something about it. It's like, you didn't have to do that. Like, it's a
Oh,
great
that's
score,
interesting.
but there's something about the use of it in the trailer. It just
It
feels
really
a little forced. And
it feels like you're hitting kind of a speed bump in the way the trailer's kind of
yeah,
going, like because you're listening to the Flash soundtrack, and then it's like boom, and it kind of takes this course off. And you're like, wait, what? Like it.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like I physically was jarred, but I was definitely like, oh, they're just jumping the. Okay, I mean, it's a good
Hmm.
score, but like it's just not needed. Like it really kind of bumps the trailer a little bit in a way. Oh, I kind of thought
That's
that too, and
interesting.
I kind of thought that too. I was like, oh, kind of, they need to do that. That's cool. Like
it just feels like an extra like fan servicey kind of thing.
for the
Like
trailer, yeah.
we've got 89 Batman in this, and
I
we're gonna
don't
even use the
disagree.
music. Like that's how it felt to me. That was my natural reaction when I first saw the trailer.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that thought. It's just that I think that from the different people I've seen reacting to it and whatever, that was probably a highlight for most people that they played the music. That and him saying I'm Batman, which is very fan servicey. Him
Oh,
saying I'm
very.
Batman,
Oh yeah,
but I think that I almost feel like most people would have, if had not been there, most people would have been like, it would have been cool if they had played the Danny Elfman theme when he shows up. So I think, yeah, most people did like that part, but
And for me,
that's how it
I don't.
goes.
I think it would have been cool to have that moment of him saying "I'm Batman" in the movie without having seen it in a
Movie.
trailer. I don't think it was really necessary to kind of bring the trailer to like that extra level of excitement. I don't think you had to like kind of go ahead and take that into the
right.
trailer and thus kind of ruining it for the movie. I don't, I kind of wish they had held that back.
Yeah, I wish they'd held that back too. I mean, it is. It's just. It's very. You're just playing to the fans, I think, and yeah, like what Bobby's saying is like a lot of people enjoy that kind of stuff, but like it sounds so elitist, but I feel like when I watch trailers, I'm watching them differently than I think. I hate saying like the average viewer, I guess, would be seeing. Like
Hmm.
I have certain expectations of a trailer. I think most people are just like, oh no, I just want to see the stuff that
Hmm.
I like. And I'm trying
I
to
think
get more of
that's
a
most
feel. I feel like I'm like not explaining this very well at all. But
I think
like,
I understand what you're saying.
but it's like, for me, I don't need the fan service. Like, I'm trying to get a feel of the movie as a whole, not just like, you don't need to sell me on this part. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to sell me on Michael Keaton being Batman in this film. Like it's cool. Like it's fine. Maybe for other people, they're like, "Oh, that brings back memory. Oh man, now I gotta see it. I'm sold. Let's get there. I love it." Like that's great for them, but for me, I don't
Yeah.
need it personally.
Nah, I totally get that, and I think that there's a storm of reasons why, and probably the main reason being, well, two big reasons being that it's the Super Bowl and you've got the most eyes
Right.
of any other time going to be on that for the average viewer that
Sure.
doesn't typically
Exactly.
go to the movie theater. So they need to push it and sell it hard. And then that's the other reason too, is that in a different world, DC isn't in a place where they feel like they have to show their cards in a sense. Whereas in No Way Home, having Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up was held close to the vest, and not
Mm,
until you see the movie do you know that they're in there.
right.
In this one, they're Michael Keaton right up front. Hey,
Yeah.
look what we got in this movie. So they really
Yeah.
have to, do more to bring people out. And
Yeah, they're
so
in a much more
I think that
desperate
that
position.
They're in a much more
yeah,
desperate position for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So I think that's why they push it so hard and
oh yeah.
play it the way they did.
I feel like I'm trying. I don't want to over explain all this, but basically, it's like I feel like, you know, 'cause sometimes I feel like we'll talk about stuff on the show, and it's like there's the average viewer, and then there's kind of us. And the
Hmm.
reason why I kind of put us not as an average viewer is we don't just go to the movie like once every like we don't see a movie in a movie theater once every like 3 or 4 months. Like, I mean, I'll say I haven't seen movies like I usually do, but we see movies on a level like we're seeing a lot of movies very short periods of time. We're critiquing them. We're looking at different facets of the film as a whole, and I think that's a lot different than say an average moviegoer.
Well, and I think more
For
specifically,
sure.
like in this case, where we've known for a long time
Right,
Michael Keaton is
we
in
know
this
all
film.
this
This
stuff
has not been,
exactly.
but at the same time, there are plenty of people, and it can be easy for us to forget, plenty of people that
Have
do not know that.
no clue.
Like, don't
Yeah.
even know
No clue.
even much about the Flash and that this movie's coming out,
Correct.
I mean, and much less that Michael Keaton is back as Batman. Like,
Right.
Right.
so yeah.
So for them, yeah, their hats are blowing off their heads. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
um,
And by
well,
the
so
way,
I guess the
I'm also pumped about
go ahead.
Supergirl. I think Supergirl looks great in the trailer.
Yeah.
That's and I say that, and I never really watched the show that much, but I've always liked that character,
Mm,
and I'm excited to see this take on Supergirl.
No, I like Kara. I did at one point when I was much younger read a few of the Supergirl comics, and mostly it's because there was a Supergirl movie that I enjoyed a lot as a kid. As an adult, that movie is totally garbage. But
yeah.
and I did watch actually the first season and a half of the CW show that came out, and I thought it was actually pretty decent.
Hmm.
So no, I like seeing her in action, and I'm looking forward to her kind of being introduced into the DC. I think it'll be
Yeah,
DCU, whatever you want, DCM, whatever we want to call it.
this is still the
You?
DCEU, I guess.
DCEU. So
Moving into
getting
the
Yeah, this
getting
is
DCEU.
her
technically, yeah.
out there on film, I think is really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm very excited for that movie. I just looking at it again real quick was that we had The Flash on June 16th, uh, Indiana Jones on June 30th, and then that Transformers movie comes out June 9th. So there's not much space in between these movies. In fact, I think they only seem like a 2 week window between each of those movies. That'll probably be pretty big. So they'll all be bumping up against each other for
It's gonna be a solid
theater space
summer.
at some point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It makes
the
you
other
wonder
thing,
why not release this movie like back in the end of January or something when it had room to breathe and Avatar was already on the way downhill. Like,
I could have just eaten up 3 months until Guardians comes out the end
yeah,
of I could
yeah,
just-
I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah,
We've sung that song many times. It's not
yeah.
Bobby.
I
You've
know.
talked a lot
It
about
is.
that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's,
Why
I
are
don't
we not
know.
the heads of executives
Oh
of huge
gosh.
studios? You know, I mean, come on. We know what we're
Right?
doing.
I know.
God.
Yeah. Just give us the reins. We'll make it all better. Uh, the other thing that we have to talk about is one other movie that, although there wasn't really a big trailer for it, I think it was just a commercial spot really that was for Ant-Man and the Wasp. But the movie officially comes out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I know you guys are sometimes on social media looking at things and sometimes not. So I don't know really what you know about this movie and how it's been received so far. But um, I will say, and maybe let me double check as I'm talking. Um, the reception was quite the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. Because going
Same,
into it,
man.
we had heard that this was going to be a pretty big movie on almost Avengers level scale type movie. We know we have Kang coming in this movie. There's the Quantumania of it all, the quantum realm being a big part. And the first words that came out a couple weeks ago, I think it was maybe, and to me at that time when I saw the reviews, I felt like everything was sort of mixed positive, leaning more towards the positive side of mix. And then there was another screening, I think, that just happened yesterday which also was the official, I guess, Rotten Tomato score that hit. And at that time, I believe when it first hit Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. And as of today, it has a 51%, which that's just utterly shocking to me that Eternals is still the lowest. I forget what it is. I think it was in the
Eternals,
26 or 29 something.
oh no, it's not that bad.
No, 30,
Eternals is
30
the
something.
worst rated on Rotten Tomatoes MCU film at 47%.
Okay, 47.
So right now it's Ant-Man is just above it.
That's crazy.
It's almost like it's
That is
fighting for that
crazy.
last
It's
spot.
very crazy.
Yeah.
I've been trying to avoid a lot. I did at one point today scroll and see what the headline was for the review from Rolling Stones. And the gist that I get, the feeling, I'm trying not to pay too much attention to, but it definitely seems like I was with you, Bobby. I felt like it seemed like everybody was mixed but more positive. And then I saw that headline and I was like, oh man, I don't need to see this.
I think that particular headline was something like "As the MCU lost its way." I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like this is kind of a departure from the classical MCU stuff. And
Which
I mean,
everyone seemed to complain about at some point.
I mean, and see, for me, like, I feel like the classic MCU stuff is still like phase one, phase two. And then it's like, I feel like somewhere around like Ragnarok and Guardians Volume 2, the MCU starts to kind of lose its way a little bit for me. A little bit. Not saying all of them. There were certain films that were still quite spot on. But so for me, I'm kind of like, well, is this kind of going in that direction, or is this just not falling into the fan gear? So a lot of people love Ragnarok, and some people, like you said, like love no, most people don't like Love and Thunder, but like there's definitely films that people really love, and I've kind of been like, it was okay. So now I'm like, is this gonna be one of those ones where I'm like, actually, guys, this is really good? People are gonna be like, no, it's not, because it doesn't play into like what they want. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not
your
explaining this at
anticipation
all.
level at this point is pretty low, I'd say.
No, I would say I'm still
No?
actually really positive on it. I enjoy Ant-Man a lot. Like, I wouldn't say he's like one of my favorites, but I do really enjoy Ant-Man. Like, again, like pretty recently, I put on the original film at one point for the kids to watch, and we all wind up kind of just rewatching it, and I still really enjoy Ant-Man. I find it entertaining. I find the comedy fun because it's subtle but not too heavy-handed the way sometimes like Drax can be in Guardians. Like, it just feels a little more mellow as far as like some of the Marvel films go. And I'm okay with that. Like, I like that kind of like, it's comfortable in its boots, and that's what I like. So I'm still looking forward to this film. I am. I'm looking forward to it for so many reasons, but yeah, definitely for like Kang. Like, I think it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see more of that. So yeah, no, I'm still positive. Hopefully, I'll be one of those people that's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, this happens and this happens and it builds on this and this is great and yada yada, and the story between these two, da 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 da. Like, I'm hopefully that's how I'm gonna come out of this film. And everybody else is gonna be like, Michelle, you're crazy. It's horrible. And I'll be like, well, okay, whatever.
Well, where you at with it, David?
I kind of the same, to be honest. I'm
Okay.
still optimistic. I mean, for one, if you just think about like the Rotten Tomatoes score stuff, and of course I just had it and now it's not in front of me anymore. But I look at this list of MCU films on Rotten Tomatoes, like in order of top to bottom, and again, Eternals is the bottom. I liked Eternals. I think it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that Eternals is at 47%. So, I mean, if anything, that's a perfect example. I'm not saying Eternals is the best MCU film, but it is
Right.
by far. It's not even a contest that it's not the worst.
I would agree
To
with
me,
that.
it is sacrilege that movies like Thor: Love
Yeah.
and Thunder are above this. Now, don't get me wrong, Thor: Love and Thunder is only two above it at 64%.
Right.
But the fact that Thor: Love and Thunder is certified fresh,
Oh
it blows my
God.
mind versus
Yes.
Eternals, which I quite liked. Anyway, no, I think I'm still holding onto hope that this is the kind of movie that maybe critics don't care for, but I will enjoy. I guess like Eternals.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, like you said, Michelle, I agree. I like Ant-Man. I like both of the films we've had so far. But I also recognize that this at least appears, based on trailers, to be a very different experience from those other two movies.
Correct.
And there's a part of me that's a little worried about that, but a part of me that's excited about a change for Ant-Man and not just, I don't want necessarily, excuse me, more of the same. So, um, you know, yeah, when the full review embargo dropped a couple days ago, and we started to see these reviews and this Rotten Tomato score, I like you, Bobby, was kind of shocked because not that I scoured a lot of reactions when the social media reactions first hit, I guess last week. I
Hmm.
felt like for the most part, kind of like you said, Bobby, it kind of was trending positive. I saw a lot of reactions comparing it to like the kind of like a Star Wars movie in the MCU. I
Yeah.
saw a ton of that, which got me
Hmm.
excited. So yeah, I'm with you. When I saw the review embargo drop and these reviews come in, I was not expecting this. I think one of the first review titles I saw was the Rolling Stone title,
Mm.
and I was like, oh, that's
Hmm.
Rolling Stone. Who cares? And like then I saw more and more, and I'm like, oh God, like what is
Right.
happening? But overall, I am still optimistic. I'm excited about seeing this opening night tomorrow night. Even with the negative reviews, it still seems to be that Jonathan Majors steals the show, and
Yeah.
I think he looks great in this. So, hey, if at least he's great in it, I'll take it. um,
Yeah.
but but the same could be said about Thor:
Yeah.
Love and Thunder. I like
Yeah.
Christian Bale in that, and it wasn't that great. But
I
Right.
think for me, a theory that I've held on to for many years is that I feel like critics sometimes when films and this my theory doesn't go well when you compare like Avatar to this, but I feel like a lot of times when films are heavily inundated inside of a CGI world, the critics seem to not be as interested in the films. I feel like for the
Mm.
most part, mind you, again, Avatar does not fall into this
it was
rule,
the exception.
But
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
when films are when a vast majority of the film is inside of a CGI world, critics are not amazed by it. Like they're not loving on it. And this movie is going to be in the quantum realm, I think, for a good 75% of this film. We are going to be in the
Mm.
CGI world most of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think it kind of falls into that theory that I have where critics are much harder on films when that happens. And I say that because if I
Mm.
look at, oh God, I just had it 2 seconds ago. It's an MCU film that takes place mostly. I've completely lost it.
Love and
But
Thunder.
I mean, yeah, but Love and Thunder also is crap. So it's hard to use that one as the example.
Mm.
But Eternals, sometimes they're in fully enveloped worlds like that. And I feel like where Guardians has issues, it's usually in the heavily CGI'd areas of a world, like when they are with Peter Quill's father on his
Mm.
planet. That's where I think a lot of the critics had issues with that film. And so it's like I feel like when CGI is a major, major, major component of the reality that the characters are inside of, I think that's where critics start to get kind of hard on things sometimes. It's a theory. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's
No,
like
I've seen that in reviews where people feel like they're. Um, I don't know what it is. I think that there's something that there's to be said about that because it feels like a lot of critics will point it out is that there's no real environments and that there's a volume involved or something that
right.
they definitely seem to point it out a lot in their reviews and my thought is like um, I don't know a way around that you could shoot something like a quantum realm in
Exactly.
a way that makes it look believable. Maybe there's a way, but I don't know, and so I don't hold that against the movie in terms of what they're filming, unless
Right.
the CG just looks really terrible. But
Doctor
um,
Strange,
using
Multiverse of
CG in
Madness.
that way, there's no other way to do that. So yeah, okay, that's what I was going to say that one too, but
That was the
wasn't
one
for
I was
sure if he was
thinking
wrong
of.
with that.
Was
Okay,
was they were I think a little hard on Multiverse of Madness, and I think because a lot of it takes place in a CGI created realm. A lot of it does.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. No, it's
Well,
I guess we'll just have to see what happens. I'm still holding out hope. I still am positive for Ant-Man.
I think on my part, I am. I don't think my level of anticipation has really changed because I've been excited, but not like super excited to see it, which isn't bad. It just means to me that I think usually I'm super excited either for the super big event type of movie or a
Mm-hmm.
character that I haven't seen yet appear on screen and want to see that appearance. And so for me, being excited is more along the lines of like, okay, where I expect to be for this movie, for an Ant-Man movie. Um, without having to know exactly what we're going to get beyond just the king of it all. Which, as you said, David, his reviews on at least Jonathan Majors have been really good. Which I think, unlike Christian Bale, I think it's more so needed for Jonathan Majors as King because we know that he will be a further part of the MCU at least for a
Mm-hmm.
little while. He'll be sticking around in one incarnation or another. So I think it was important for him to come off well in this movie. If nothing else works, that he
Yeah.
does at least work.
I
Um,
mean, I don't have very, I have like zero doubts about Jonathan Majors just because of what we saw for his the one variation that we've seen in
hmm,
Loki, and getting that, I was like, and I mean, Jonathan Majors is spectacular. From what everything I've seen him in, I have highly enjoyed. So I don't doubt that. I think it's gonna be great that he's gonna be doing this role. I think if it was going to be a huge miss, yeah, it's really going to screw up a lot of the MCU moving forward in this
all
next
right.
phase. But no, I think we're going to see nothing but awesomeness for him as Kang.
Yeah. And I do find it interesting too that some people, not all people, but I've seen some of the people out there complaining that this isn't just the small, not no pun intended, Ant-Man movie that the other two were, and that this is a different type of a Ant-Man movie, which to me, it's like, well, do you want all these movies to just be the same? I mean, it
Right.
wasn't that a complaint at one point in time that these movies were all kind of samey and like a cookie cutter, and then they do something different, and people were like, well, don't do anything different. Go back to what you were doing before. It's so weird, and it's like with if they had kept that same um, mindset, then you would never get a Ragnarok because then they just would have kept doing Thor serious or whatever the case may be.
right.
So I don't know why people are afraid that the movie can sort of grow beyond its means as what it was as a franchise and do something different. Especially if you kind of sometimes want to retain some of these actors in these roles. I know that Chris Hemsworth has said he was kind of tired of playing Thor by the time he was done with the second movie and some of the other stuff. And so when Ragnarok came around, it reinvigorated his ability to play the character again. So sometimes it's necessary in that way to kind of shake it up. So I'm looking for Ant-Man to sort of shake things up in its franchise and go in a different direction and be a little bit bigger in its scale and scope. So I'm hoping that we have a good movie, and like David said, that this turns out to be one that I don't agree with the critics on. And to be fair, the way Rotten Tomatoes works, it's an aggregation of reviews, and so 51% means that half the critics, slightly more than half the critics liked it. Really, is
Right.
what it actually means. And so it doesn't mean that it got a 51% grade scale and then it's an F or anything. It just means that 51% of the critics that reviewed it liked it. So it's split
Right.
basically. So I hope I fall on the side of the critics that liked it.
And different levels of like. I mean, that's
Sure. Yeah.
I know I haven't read any of these reviews. I've seen some of the reaction kind of stuff, but haven't read them. But I guarantee, I'm sure that of those 51%, there's people who really, really, really loved it.
Absolutely.
And then there's other reviews where like technically I liked it, but it's maybe more average. But you know what I mean.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's kind of it, David. Unless you have anything, or Michelle, you have anything else you want to mention real quick
I
before
don't
we
think
get out of
so.
here? I will say there was one little thing that popped up in the news right before we went on. Well, a little bit before that, earlier today, that I kind of caught me off guard. Apparently, there is a How to Train Your Dragon live action movie in the
Oh
works
yeah, I
at
did see that.
Universal. Um, and what that in and of itself is surprising. I can only imagine what the budget would have to be if you want to do it right with all these dragons running or flying around. But the thing that really honestly shocked me the most was that the release date is set for spring of 2025. It's 2 years from now. So uh, I have not
Was
heard of
that
a cast. I've not heard of a script.
was that
That
something that
seems
like
like such a
just the
short.
news just dropped today,
Yeah,
or
like it just
Yeah,
dropped probably like
yeah,
an hour or two before we did the
yeah.
show.
That was never even hinted at before that there was going to be a
Yeah.
live action How to Train Your Dragon movie. So
huh,
it's just
Yeah.
like that's a fast turnaround to me. It seems like for something you
yeah,
just announced that no one ever had heard about. But
hmm,
it says Dean DeBloy returning to write, direct, and produce.
hmm.
I'm
So
I'm I'm mixed on this. On one side, I'm like, this could be really awesome because I love How to Train Your Dragon. I think
yeah,
it's a great series. So part of me is like, yeah, that's cool. We can make it kind of like a kid's version of Game of Thrones y kind of thing happening here. That's okay. But then the other person's like,
I'd say
I don't know if I
tween.
need
What?
this. Do I need this?
I don't
Like,
know. I mean, this is. I mean, it's first I'm hearing of it. It's quick reaction, but
Oh, okay. I thought you
my
maybe had saw that news when I
no, I hadn't heard this until
posted it
just
on there.
now, and that's. I guess my reaction is kind of negative. I think, like, it feels like that first evidence of, oh well, if Disney can do it, you know,
Mm,
yep,
now we're gonna start doing it.
sure.
I mean, you
yep.
know, and
Yeah.
but
Get ready for that
for the
live
most
action show.
part, and please correct me if I'm forgetting something, but everything that Disney has done in live action have been older animated films. I mean, what's the most
Right.
recent animated film they turned into a live action? Aladdin, or have they done new? I mean,
Well,
Lion King technically.
um,
Well, if you want to call that live action, I
I don't
mean,
know.
Right.
technically
Yeah,
is
I was gonna say
newer.
I don't know what years these all came out in animation, but the ones that we do know so far is now we have the Little Mermaid coming out. You also had
That's pre
Lion
Aladdin.
King, and then you had Aladdin, and then I know that they had announced, but I don't know when it's coming out. Lilo and Stitch. So
That would be
I don't know when
easily the
these
most
years.
recent. Um,
Okay.
Right. And How to Train Your Dragon came out around Lilo and Stitch time, probably just like 2 years
no,
later.
no way.
Oh,
No, no, no.
we're going
Oh
IMDb,
yeah, we
baby.
are. I don't,
There
no
we
way.
go.
Not even close.
I think they're closer
I
than you
don't think so.
think. I
I
think
think
they're closer
it was
than you
around
think.
2006, 2008, somewhere around there.
How to Train Your Dragon came out in 2010.
2010. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Lilo and Stitch, I know, was in 2002.
2002. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guess that's my first reaction to it is like, I don't know, it just feels so recent. We're already doing a live action version of this. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, who's to say why not? I mean, it's, I guess, been 12 years, but
15 by the
13
time the
years,
movie comes out. Yeah.
15 years, but I don't know. They're such good movies.
Well,
Like, I bet, I
They
guess
are
you could
good
say that about all the
movies.
Disney
yeah.
films. So why
Yeah,
can't they do
yeah,
it
yeah.
too? I'm thinking this through as I'm saying it. I fully admit it may not make sense.
You're working
but
through your.
but I don't know.
I'll be honest. I feel like a better venture for if Universal really wants to take a DreamWorks film and make it more live action. I think a better thing they should have jumped in with live action would have been like Despicable Me.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting.
that what I would have expected first, right?
Well, and like David just said, maybe they are going the Disney route, and we will start to see live action versions of some of their animated movies, like Despicable Me. And it does say, actually, it gives a specific date. It says March 14th, 2025. So
it actually has that
actual
Even early
release
in
date.
2025. It's
wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite just literally 2 years almost from now.
I will say they've
soon.
definitely put themselves up on that. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, it
Seems
could
like
be.
it would be.
It's a lot. They're definitely biting off a lot. I think they're biting off a lot in the storyline and the connection of the characters and the emotional connection the audience has to the characters. I think they're biting off a lot here. And then there's the whole animation of the dragons that are going to obviously be CGI.
Right, that's the
and
part
like,
I'm thinking it'll take the most.
And I
and like
guess-
there's a lot.
And How Do You Train Your Dragon, I guess, feels more recent too, because there's been sequels to it,
There
more
has.
recent sequels versus. So, like, for shits and giggles, I've looked at like some other animated films that came out around the same time, and I'll fully admit, if I found out, or I don't know, maybe this is already a plan. If you told me, hey, we're making a live action Tangled, I'd be like, okay. And that came out in 2010.
Yep, there you go.
So I'm fully admitting, like, it's been the same amount of time. But I think because we've had, two other How to Train Your Dragon movies, and I
Yeah,
don't remember how
that's-
recent the
And then
most
there's a
recent one
Christmas
was,
special, yeah.
that it doesn't.
The
it
third one
seems
was
like,
pretty recent, within the
Third
last
one, yeah, was probably
5
less,
years, maybe.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
It probably is actually more because I feel like I'm always messed up with COVID years, but it's been recent.
Yeah.
I could see, yeah. Well, yeah, the one going back to
2019.
Disney and their live action ones, 2019. Okay, yeah. The one that I'm thinking of that I feel like because they're doing their live action versions of not all, but of a lot of their category or
Catalog.
yeah. The one that I honestly could foresee maybe I'd say within the next at most 15 years, but I would maybe lean towards 10 is seeing a live action version of I just had the name in my head and it
Dying to
literally
hear
just
this.
left it.
I know.
Oh gosh. Oh
On
gosh.
pins and needles,
okay.
Bobby.
Let me see. Frozen.
Yeah, I could see them doing a live action Frozen. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
No.
That Tangled would be a good one too. I would enjoy those, I
Yeah.
think. But I think we got there's a Snow White that's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But of recent films, yeah, Frozen, Tangled.
Yeah.
Those would be good ones. You know what I was thinking is actually if they did a live version of Princess and the Frog, it would get dark. Because, like, the whole voodoo stuff is dark.
Yeah.
Dark one.
Mm.
That'd be good.
I mean,
Anyway.
at this point, I wouldn't put it past them. There's so many other ones that they probably feel like they can do, and as time goes by and visual effects get more and more advanced and maybe
Right.
cheaper, they could do a lot of stuff. So yeah,
Right.
But will they ever do a live action? And or unless I'm forgetting something, I mean, a live action Pixar film.
It's like I sit here and I think about like Toy Story or Inside
Right.
Out becoming a live
Right.
action. And I feel like what would happen is I would feel the same way I did after Lion King. I'd be like, what was the point of this? Like, you took a cartoon animation and turned it into a CGI animation. It's not going to be a live action film.
I mean, yeah, you could argue you could make a movie like Up live action. I'm just thinking of a Pixar film that is more
more
normal
people.
humans.
Right. Yeah.
Not saying I want to see that. I do not. I'm going to be very clear. I do not want to see a live action Up.
Correct.
And I can't imagine any Pixar film for whatever reason being live action.
I can imagine one.
What's that?
Honestly, two. I can imagine. Wally. And
Stop.
No, well, because it's a robot most of the time. So
I get what
totally
you mean
see
in respect
that
of.
as-
I could see that. I do not, under any circumstances, want to see a live action Up.
I don't want to see any of the
Okay.
Pixar movies live action.
But what was
I
the other
really
one?
don't.
Sorry, what was the other one?
The other one was actually a movie I listed just recently in my top 10 of last year, which was Turning Red. I could see that being a thing.
If anything, that would be.
That would work.
That might be toward the top of my
That would
list
work.
for yeah.
If I had
could
to
see
look at Pixar and go, what would work and what would I want to see? That one I could see doing. That one would be cool. That one would be fun because then it'd be like she'd be this big red panda, like almost like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man attacking a stadium. Like it'd be pretty cool. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah,
And I want to be clear to anybody watching this who doesn't know me. Like the reason I would not want to see Wally is because I love Wally the way it is.
Wally is
Wally is
perfect.
a
Perfection.
treasure for me, and I just don't want to see it remade into a semi live action version. Like it's
Like
just weird.
Wall-E and Inside Out are perfection to me as far as Pixar story goes.
And Soul, like the more I've watched Soul, it's up
Yeah,
there.
we just watched Soul, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Damn, this is
Soul
good."
So good.
Soul is really good.
Yeah.
So underrated too. It's so good.
My elite Pixar, yeah, like Wall-E, Inside Out, Finding Nemo. To be honest, is incredibly good, and Soul, yeah. Anyway,
I think the creepiest one would probably still be Cars.
Cars would be weird.
Oh God, no. Ugh.
Just be
Cars would be
odd.
interesting.
That would be so weird.
A world
You
with
can
no
lead
people,
into that.
just cars.
Just
Yeah.
cars
Planes.
and planes and trains and
Yeah.
but the people.
How have we not? There's probably
Yeah.
somebody who's done it on the internet and just done like a. I mean, people like you shared like a live action version of Super Mario Brothers that somebody made.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
You know, I'm sure somebody's done it.
With Chris Pratt. Yeah, I'm sure. You're right. I'm sure someone has done it. Just do a little YouTube search. I'm sure
Right.
someone's put something together.
You can almost think of anything, or you know, you could go to an AI chatbot or something, and they'll just make it for you.
But like it gets
Yeah.
to it does get to a
Right.
point where it's you're taking something that's animated and you're making it a CGI animation. It's not live.
No.
I hate to be this person that's like it's not live action now, and I'm saying all this and like they did Cinderella and they had the mice were CGI animated, but that is a very small
They're not the
fraction
primary characters of that
that
movie.
is the percentage of that in that film is small. Beauty and the Beast took it up quite a few notches. A lot of that was CGI, and I don't know. I'm still kind of mixed on the Beauty and the Beast. Like I like it, but I don't love it. Like there's a mix there because I'm like there's so much that's CGI. Like it's almost like I was surprised they were doing it as live action. So it was like this is a lot. It's hard.
I wasn't surprised about that one. That was like a social media fan casted as her as Belle for so long.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, that's a side tangent.
But you know what I'm saying? Like
I guess, yeah, I know what you mean.
certain
but
certain
I think
storylines.
Lion King is really the one culprit for me that it's not really live action at all.
It's not
just-
live action at all.
Anyway,
On that.
I think that's it. I think we've beat that with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to wrap things up. As always, we would love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to comment down below with any comments or questions. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we go live or post any videos in the future. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Flickr_effect. With that, I'm David Lott.
Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Bye-bye.